Figma plugins is the best way to speed up your workflow. So in this video, we're going to cover 5 essential plugins that you guys need to be using in 2023. Let's jump into it. So the first one here is going to be find and replace. Now, usually if you are using a big wireframe kit or you have a lot of repeated text or symbols or anything like that in your file, you're going to want to replace a lot of things in bulk. And so using something like find and replace is the best way to do that. Now, there's a lot of variations of this plugin, but one of my favorite plugins that I like to use is this text helper plugin right here. So this is one of the more simple plugins that you can find that does the type of function. When you look up text replace, you're going to be met with a lot of different options, so keep that in mind. But in this case, if I close this here, we can see that all we need to do is type in the text that we want to find and replace, and then type in anything else that we want to replace it with, and it'll do just that. So this is a super simple plugin to use. And in cases like this, it doesn't necessarily make the most of senses because we're replacing with the same text, but you can imagine that if you have a lot of text that needs to be replaced, this is a great solution to have. Next up is going to be the best icon plugin that you guys can find. It's by Google, the Material Symbols plugin. And all we need to do is type in what we want to find. So in this case, I'm going to type in user, and we can see that we're met with a ton of different options here. So I'm just going to click on this one, and we see that it drops the exact same icon that we clicked on with the preset features here. So if we start changing this up, so for example, I want the weight to be 100. I want the grade to have an emphasis, maybe dark theme. Let's just leave it normal. And then optical size 48. So you can see that the icon that we put into Figma is dynamically changing depending on the settings that we're choosing here. Now, if we wanted to go and move it back to the original, we also could. Maybe make it filled, and we can see that everything also changes. So this is a great plugin to have to just have a ton of different variations of icons without having to search with Iconify or Icons 8, any of those. This is a great solution that does pretty much any icon that you guys can think of. So if I was to use this in a real case scenario, I would use this here, for example, in the delivery section here. So let's type in delivery. We can see that there's a little van. Let's go ahead and click on that, drag it in here. I want it to be, probably 24. Don't really need a fill. Maybe it can be a bit thicker or a bit lighter. And that is great. Now I can get rid of this little placeholder, and I can make sure that it is the color that I need it to be. So maybe this blue. And that is pretty much it. So you don't really need to do anything else. So if we wanted to, we can maybe add a fill by giving it a background, maybe something like this. We can even wrap it around, so we can just start to play around with this. So as you guys can see, because it is using SVGs, it has a ton of different customizability options, and you can really play around with it until you find the perfect solution for your site. Now, with everything that's come up with AI, of course, is going to be a plugin that I'm going to use using AI. So my pick for this video is going to be Relume Ipsum. So Relume Ipsum is a great option if you want to generate a ton of text on your site in no time at all. So in this case here, now keep in mind that this is a premium plugin, but in this case, we have the site that we've been working on here, and we also have the Relume Ipsum plugin. So we have to put in a company name, and then also we want to describe what the company does. And it's going to read the layout of your entire website and try to generate text depending on where the text is sitting or depending on what the text size is. So I'm just going to generate the copy here, and we'll see what it's going to do. So in this case, we can see that it added the logo here, some get started now text, the H1, some paragraph text here. So this is a great plugin. I made a more in-depth video about this plugin in the link in the description or up here. So be sure to check that out if you want to. But next up is going to be Unsplash. Now, Unsplash is one of the most used plugins in all of Figma, but that is for a reason. It is still the best plugin to use if you guys need to generate images. Now, in my case here, if I want to just generate a random minimal image here or something to do with nature, it's just going to plot that in under a second. So this is just the best way to do this. Now, if I wanted to do something more related with computers, maybe, because that's what we're doing in this case, I can go ahead and click that, and we can see that we are starting to develop a great looking site, although a little bit bland. So what we want to do in the next plugin here, just to cover it really quickly, is gonna be the background remover. So Pixie Cut background remover is a great plugin to have, because if you can avoid to leave Figma to go into Photoshop or any other type of photo manipulating software like that, it can save you a ton of time. So it's not perfect, as we can see here, but it can do a lot of the heavy lifting. Now, another option to do if you do want to remove this kind of background, or maybe we can go ahead and change this color here so we can see a little bit more what it did. We can also start to pick and choose our images a little bit better in this case. Like for example, there was a lot in the foreground. So let's go ahead and pick this one here just to test it out. Let's go ahead and run it. Now, I'm not exactly sure what it's going to do here because there's a lot of similar colors in the background, but I'm sure that it would, it's getting there. It's getting there. But this is a great plugin to use if you guys need some quick and dirty images removed from the background. So in this case, if we wanted to, we can just go ahead and start adding different colors and schemes and gradients if we want to, just to go ahead and make a very quick mockup. So this is a great plugin. It saves you a ton of time without having to leave Figma and to go into Photoshop. You don't need to do any of that. Although this plugin might not be as sophisticated as some dedicated tools like that, it is a great option to have if you just need something very quickly. So guys, if you enjoyed any of the tools that I talked about in the video, they're all going to be in the description. Leave a comment to any that I might have missed, you guys might have wanted me to cover. So without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.